people, CzarThwomp here, and welcome to episode 71 of Dual Destinies. Last time, we talked to Athena at the detention center. We learned about her childhood at the Space Center, as well as what she was doing there on the day that Clay was murdered. And now we're going up against Edgeworth in the ruins of courtroom number 4. So without further ado, let's go. Court, or some facsimile thereof, is now in session for the trial of Athena Sykes. Not a facsimile, oh man. This is a proper official trial. Take this more seriously, or you'll start hearing the bones of the hostages snap. Please try not to upset Miss Blackwell. I'm begging you. Court is now in session for the very serious and very proper trial of Athena Sykes. Though really, frankly, just Aura does not know who she's messing with, because basically this is Phoenix, the invincible defense attorney. Basically, Aura could fire bullets, fire flames at him, fire missiles at Phoenix, but all of it would just bounce right off him as he just marches in and kicks her ass, basically. Just Phoenix... Yeah, basically, Phoenix got hit by a car and was launched headfirst into a telephone pole, and he only got a sprained ankle. Phoenix got clonked on the head with a fire extinguisher and got amnesia that wore off after a couple of hours. Phoenix fell off a burning bridge and only got a cold. So basically, what could Aura throw at him that basically he wouldn't be able to shrug off like a morning mist? This is no trial. It's nothing more than a ridiculous farce. What did you say? Edgeworth, did you not hear what I just said to his honor? However, this ridiculous farce has a very important meaning for our legal system. Recall the case of the UR1 incident, in which a prosecutor was found guilty of murder. That case ushered in the odious dark age of the law. I see what you're after. If we can find the real truth behind the case today. Precisely, the darkness will be dispelled and glory shall be restored to the court system. Prosecutor Edgeworth, you sound as if you know something of this truth. I do indeed. A new suspect has emerged in the UR1 case. For 7 years, Simon Blackwell has refused to speak in order to cover for someone else. After all, Hey, don't blame me. Snitches get stitches. That is the Blackwell family motto. Brace yourself, Phoenix. Here it comes. I'm sorry, Wright, but the situation is what it is, and I must do what I must. The prosecution moves to indict Athena Sykes on the count of murder in the first degree. Yeah, just love how Edgeworth, just without a beat, is just ratcheting Athena's accusations right up to the highest level, just the highest echelon of first degree murder, basically. Edgeworth could have easily argued for manslaughter, basically, considering that basically Athena, she was trying to defend herself from her mother's experiments. So basically, so naturally Athena's trying to fight back, and basically push comes to shove and just something goes wrong. I can see that, basically, I can see Edgeworth arguing that, but Edgeworth, he's just ratcheting this right up to basically Athena with malicious and murderous intent, plotted and schemed to murder her mother, basically. 11-year-old Athena, basically. Just makes you wonder just what Edgeworth was thinking in his mind at the time of DL6, basically. 10-year-old Edgeworth, basically. What was Edgeworth thinking? I can shoot my father! Damn, Mr. Von Karma! He beat me to the punch of being able to kill my father! Yeah, just really. You would think that basically Edgeworth would have a little more, you know, a bit more sympathy towards Athena in this case, considering that basically he had to deal with the exact same kind of situation as her, but just he's like, no, first degree murder. I shot my adoptive father that day, right? I was aiming for I didn't throw the gun, right? I was aiming for it, I just missed.
Regardless the circumstance, I intend to question the defendant with all I have. For that is a part of my creed.
Then you'd better bring it.
If the two of you are ready. Court is now in session for the trial of Athena Sykes.
Your Honor, the defense was born ready.
The prosecution is also ready.
Yeah, and the fact that basically Edgeworth is taking off his glasses to try to look badass. Though the thing is, I don't think Edgeworth has contacts. So basically, Edgeworth just squared at these documents. Excuse me, right? I kind of have to. I kind of can't see. I can't see my documents right. Just Edgeworth just looking right at his documents, just putting them right to his face. Edgeworth, do you want to put your glasses back on? No, right? No. I don't need my glasses. Edgeworth, are you sure you kind of look like you're straining? Right? I know what I'm doing. I have to look badass. But back to what I was saying, basically, just Edgeworth. Oh, you thought I threw that gun in that elevator, right? I was aiming at my father. I was trying to give a headshot. However, my shaky little boy hands missed, resulting in Mr. Von Karma taking the bullet that was meant for my father. This immense tension between us. It's like we're picking up right where we left off. Even though the last trial that Phoenix went up against Phoenix was facing off against Edgeworth in court was very well my turnabout. And even then, basically, Phoenix was not actively in competition with Edgeworth. He was just trying to basically save Maya. It was no competition. Basically, the last trial that you could technically say Phoenix was in a sense of competition with him and Edgeworth was basically just rise from the ashes. It's my duty to clear Prosecutor Blackwell of false accusations and end this insanity. He is a good subordinate, right? He does his job. He is obedient. He's like Gumshoe in prosecutorial form. He's a fellow Steel Samurai fan, right? I have to save him. If I don't have Prosecutor Blackwell right, who will I have? Francisca? Sebastian? You think Sebastian's going to help me clear the dark age of the law? He's only making things worse. He keeps all his evidence in his desk drawer, right? But I have no intention of losing Miss Sykes either. She's a very promising young lawyer. Yeah, really. Frankly, if Apollo was the defendant, Phoenix, he'd be like, hey, you know what? Maybe I can give up Apollo. I know without doubt Athena is innocent. But I don't think Prosecutor Blackwell did it either. So, do you have any clue who was responsible for the sabotage? At the very least, I know it wasn't Simon Blackwell. I don't know enough to identify the true culprit, but what is clear is what that person is. To put it simply, a spy. The true culprit is a spy. It's going to be hard to convince anyone that it's going to be hard to convince anyone of that when I barely believe it myself. But I don't have any choice if I want to save Athena and Blackwell and expose the spy.
Now then, Chief Prosecutor Edgeworth.
No need for the Chief Prosecutor, Your Honor. I am here as a simple prosecutor.
Very well. Your opening statement, please, Prosecutor Edgeworth. Although I've been known of late to give an impressive opening statement myself.
In all the trials I've ever seen, only the prosecution gives an opening statement.
Of course, you're right. I was just joking. Just having a little fun.
No, you think that Edgeworth basically, right, keep an eye on Simon. Yeah, meanwhile, Edgeworth's not keeping an eye on Blackwell. Otherwise, basically, Edgeworth would know about the whole, hey, give the opening statement, Judge. Basically, Edgeworth would know about that. And you think that even if Edgeworth wasn't actively keeping tabs on Simon's trials, you would think that basically Edgeworth would have been alerted to basically Simon breaking his shackles, Simon torturing witnesses, just Simon essentially extorting witnesses. Just really, Simon walking out mid-trial. Yet basically Edgeworth was completely oblivious to what was happening with Simon. So he wasn't doing them just out of fear? Interesting. Let's start with a brief overview of the OR1 incident. What, right? You think that I'm in charge of my subordinates? You think I'm going to care what they're doing? The incident occurred at the Cosmos Space Center 7 years ago, on October 7th. The victim, psychologist Meta Sykes, was killed in the robotics lab on the 4th floor. Athena's mother. Simon Blackwell, a young prosecutor at the time, was found guilty of the crime. There were two deciding factors that led to his guilty verdict. One, Blackwell was the only person in the corridor to the lab at the time of the murder, and two, this photo, which captured the moment of the crime.
Very incriminating evidence indeed. It would appear that the only conclusion is that Prosecutor Blackwell did indeed Are you kidding me? I am not accepting any conclusions of that kind. This opening statement is over. Now, hurry up and call the witness. Excuse me, Miss Blackwell, but we must follow proper proceedings for these things, you know.
Sorry. Or perhaps we should heed her wishes, Your Honor. She is the trial's sponsor, after all. Besides, the courtroom is chilly, and sitting for too long can't be good for your back.
Oh, you are very kind to show such concern for the welfare of the elderly.
As skilled as ever at playing the court puppeteer, I see. Yeah, frankly, Simon going to Metis for psychological tips. Meanwhile, Simon was working in the same office as Edgeworth, basically. Simon was on par with Edgeworth in terms of rank, basically. Just granted, Simon would have been lower on the food chain, considering that basically Edgeworth had already proven himself. He was high prosecutor. Meanwhile, Simon was just starting out. He was a rookie. But basically, just Simon going to Edgeworth for mentoring, basically. I mean, really, just Edgeworth would have been a perfect mentor. No, knowing just how the prosecutor's office was, just the chief prosecutor at the time assigned, or better yet, Edgeworth assigned Simon and Sebastian as buddies in the buddy system. Basically. Just considering that they were both relatively new at the time, just Sebastian having a little more experience, they could help each other grow. Sebastian giving tips. Edgeworth just wanted to move on with life. Disregard Sebastian. Hey, Mr. Blackwell! Mr. Edgeworth said we're buddies now! The prosecution called his first witness, a witness who decided to bring forth new testimony after 7 long years. New testimony? And just who is this witness anyway? Bobby Bullright's the name, and justice we trust. What are you doing here? I'm just here to speak for the hostage taker, Miss Aura Blackwell. She says she's too busy, what with confining and threatening the hostages and all. Not to mention, she's been on the run. Apparently one of them, the little magician girl, is scaring her. She's chasing after her with a crowbar. That doesn't seem to stop her from constantly chiming in through Clonko.
I'm nothing more than an observer in this. Do your best. I'm watching you.
Believing her brother innocent, Miss Blackwell has been conducting her own investigation. Her own illicit investigation that is chock full of circumstantial evidence and bias. And though her current actions are hardly lawful, I think we can at least hear her theory. I have here Miss Blackwell's notes on the investigation she conducted. Yeah, basically, though, the fact is this. Aura is clearly a biased party. She has no legal expertise whatsoever, no investigation expertise whatsoever. So basically, just what is she going off of but just sheer bias that just Edgeworth would be the first to just object to? And I'll be giving testimony based on these notes. Here I go. Yeah, basically, Aura just writing just this entire thing. Athena was chasing after Metis with the katana, just smiling a sinister smile, cackling sinisterly. Metis was begging for mercy, but Athena was basically having none of that. She started stabbing repeatedly with the katana. She was running around like Samurai Jack. Aura Blackwell's theory. Simon isn't the murderer. He was trying to cover for someone. Someone else was at the scene at the time. They say Simon committed the murder. I mean, if he was really out to steal that moon rock, then why the rolling case? Because he was using it to hide someone inside. That's why. And the only person small enough to fit inside that case was Athena Sykes. What was wrong with my voice there? It was like it was giving out. And that's Miss Blackwell's theory. It totally goes in the face of the official ruling, huh? Oh, yeah, because basically Aura wouldn't try to save her brother. No. Yeah, Aura having zero evidence. Just, this is my statement. Aura source, trust me. Just trust me. About the case you mentioned, there were other rolling cases like that one in the lab. But they're not for traveling, they're apparently for moving parts and equipment. I vaguely remember seeing 3 cases, all different sizes. At the last trial, they thought that Prosecutor Blackwell used the case to steal the rock. And they had a perfectly good reason to think that too. Excuse me. You see, there's a security camera in the corridor that leads to the robotics lab. And that camera captured footage of Blackwell leaving the scene with the case. I can see why that footage helped to bring his trial to a quick end. It's very convincing, that's for sure. That case, by the way, was later discovered outside on the Space Center grounds. Speaking of after the incident, where was the defendant, Athena Sykes, found? She was found on the 5th floor of the Space Center in the Sykes family residence. Prosecutor Blackwell most likely brought her there after the incident. In addition, it's unknown where Miss Sykes was at the estimated time of death. Miss Sykes was too confused by the shock of her mother's death to give proper testimony, and there was no witness or evidence to tell us where she might have been. So what you're saying is Miss Sykes didn't have an alibi? That is what the evidence is saying, yes.
I understand the reason behind the theory, but I'm far from convinced. The victim is the accused mother. Are you actually claiming an 11-year-old girl?
Yeah, when the judges actually sound like the most reasonable one in the room, you know that Edgeworth has gone off the deep end. Edgeworth has spent one too many late nights at the prosecutor's office. Of course, the girl had a very strong motive. Dr. Sykes was a psychologist who wrote many papers about speech and emotions. You're aware of Athena Sykes' special ability, aren't you, Your Honor?
Are you referring to that therapy thing? Yes, she's done it quite a few times in court.
The ability to read emotions from speech, and the subject of her mother's research.
Well, as long as it benefits society, I don't see any particular problem researching it.
I don't like where this is heading. Not one bit. Dr. Sykes was so intent on her research, she forced her daughter to undergo experiments.
Oscar Edgeworth, are you seriously suggesting?
I've done my best to be delicate, but even you can't deny it to be true, Mr. Wright. No longer able to withstand the anguish of the experiments. Miss Sykes felt her only choice was to kill her own mother. Though basically I love how Edgeworth is just jumping straight to basically Athena. Death was the only option, basically. You would think that Edgeworth, it would be more logical to argue that basically Athena would try to run away first. Basically, Athena would try to run away or basically ask for help. Or basically, or at the very least, Athena would try to just hurt her mother so that way she could get away. But no, basically Edgeworth, she wanted murder. She wanted blood. She locked the lab door behind her and said, Mother, I'm not locked in here. You're not locked. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me now. Ah! Seriously, Edgeworth has no ground to assume that basically Athena was going in there with murderous intent. And just, yeah, because basically there's a big difference between manslaughter and basically first-degree murder, basically. First-degree murder is basically life in prison to the death penalty. Meanwhile, just manslaughter is, while it's still serious, it is a substantially lesser charge. Not to mention, Athena was 11, basically. She wouldn't have been... just how does Edgeworth know she would have had the faculties to basically process, okay, I want to deliberately murder my mother. Planning that with absolute deliberation and a complete disregard for human life, basically. Yeah, just Edgeworth. I've seen her in court right with you. I saw that Hugh O'Connor case. You can't tell me that girl isn't a maniac.
Order in the court! What a tragic story! I hardly want to believe it myself, but we must proceed. Mr. Wright, if you would. For Detective Fulbright, please refer to the notes.
We're at Blackwell's theory.
Hold it!
So, Prosecutor Blackwell willingly accepted a death sentence to protect someone else? Yes! That's precisely what Miss Blackwell appears to believe. And that is what I believe as well. Prosecutor Blackwell is no murderer, Mr. Wright. And then Simon, Edgeworth Sama, I killed Lance Amano in prison. I also killed his father when he tried to intervene. The kid was pissing me off. He kept saying, join my gang, shine my shoes, join my gang. I was done with it. I threw him down that well in Central Prison. I threw him down that well in the courtyard. I slit his throat, threw his body down the well. I threw it down Dogan's well. But Athena Sykes certainly didn't kill anyone either, Mr. Edgeworth. So it appears neither of us can afford to go easy on the other. Fine. I expected no less.
Oh, I remember this tense atmosphere. It's so invigorating.
I'm only reading notes here, but yeah, I feel extra invigorated too, so let's keep going.
Hold it!
But that's just speculation.
Objection.
No, Miss Blackwell has proper grounds for her claims. In fact, she wrote a footnote there saying, source, trust me.
Objection!
Then why didn't you say so in the first place?
Objection.
You're the one who screamed, hold it, and cut me off. Fine, so maybe I just jumped the gun by a teeny weeny bit. Now I know what they mean when they say close enough to argue. Moving on. Yeah, the one thing about Edgeworth, I find it funny how just his voice got so deep over the course of 8 years of last interacting with Phoenix in court. Basically, as if the chief prosecutor promotion gave him a more menacing voice. Okay. Yeah, because I know that this is one where you have to press it. Okay, I think it may be this one. I'm gonna press this one first. But that's nothing more than conjecture, and it's hardly the only possibility. In that case, what do you think Prosecutor Blackwell had in that case? I think it was the moon rock.
Objection.
Oh no, I picked the wrong one. There were 3 cases at the scene, but Prosecutor Blackwell used the largest one. The moon rock was egg-shaped and only had about 8 inches diameter. Damn it, I missed out on the other 2. It wouldn't have made any sense to use that largest case there just to move that rock.
Objection!
Be it as it may, it doesn't prove Miss Sykes was inside. Then let me ask you this. Can you come up with a better theory on what was in the case?
Well, Mr. Wright, can you?
Yikes. Give a guy some time to think. Let's see. Okay, you have to say bluff and move the case along, but I'm going to say don't bluff so we can see the other statements. I can sit back and wait and see how it goes. It's a clever theory, but it doesn't look like they have any solid proof. If I push, maybe I can uncover some flaws in it.
Hold it!
This rolling case. I suppose you mean the one that existed in the photo with Prosecutor Blackwell in it? But was absent when the crime scene photos were taken? Yes, that's the one. And Miss Blackwell has drawn a conclusion from these 2 photos.
She has? And what is that conclusion?
You're the one with her notes. Don't make me cut your pay. I will gumshoe your ass, Fulbright. Don't make me gumshoe. Please don't gumshoe me. I want to eat. Oh, right, of course. Read them now. So why the rolling case?
Hold it!
And how do you propose he hit a person inside one of those cases? Have you forgotten that we saw just a thing only the other day? At your own daughter's magic show, she fit a grown person into a small box. I'm going after her next, right? I don't trust that girl. The murderous glint in her eye. The fact that her family has a criminal track record that could span the earth. Oh yeah! Way to ruin the memory of a good day. And to think that I was laughing at Apollo's screams of terror.
A magic show? I wish you would have thought to invite me.
Actually, I would have liked to go too. My apologies. I'll invite you both next time. I promise. So, wait a minute. What were we talking about again? Prosecutor Blackwell was using the case to hide someone. Yeah, and the fact that Edgeworth was invited to the magic show.
Objection.
Okay,
Objection!
let's just get there. Okay, bluff. I know exactly what Prosecutor Blackwell carried from the scene. I just had to find something else that was missing, right? No sweat.
Oh, I'd be very interested in hearing your theory. If it is true, that is.
This is the crime scene photo taken after Prosecutor Blackwell left, correct? All we have to do is compare this with this photo of Prosecutor Blackwell to see what's missing. If we took something with him, then it should be in one of these photos. Lady Luck, don't fail me now.
Alright then, Mr. Wright, let us hear your theory. What did Prosecutor Blackwell take from the scene of the murder?
He took the case!
Take that!
Please notice that there's a robot part on top of the car in the photo. However, in this photo taken after the crime, the robot part is gone. In other words, this part is something that was taken from the scene of the crime.
You do appear to be right. I don't see it in any of in the second photo.
But it's just a piece of junk! How important could it be? Is it really just an insignificant robot part? Speaking of which...
What are you looking at? I'm going to start charging for each glance, per eyeball.
Stingy. What happened to the age of free previews? Your Honor. About this robot part. Doesn't it look like it could be an arm from the robot here?
Well, now that you mention it, it does, doesn't it? But the case is still too big and practical for just the moonrock and a robot arm.
But was it really just one arm that was in there? Well, we'll answer that in the next episode, because... Actually, no. We're not gonna end things off just now. If it was Athena in the case, then maybe... I believe there was another robot at the scene that looks just like the one here. Your Honor, is the defense's assertion that it was this other robot that was in the case.
What?
Yeah, sorry, it's just I have something planned for the next episode.
Objection.
And I need it to be on a testimony in order for it to really be efficient. We can't be certain that bot belongs to a robot. Yes, it looks like the arm of the one before us, but it could be something else entirely. Besides, it's wrapped entirely in bandaging, making it difficult to verify what it is.
Objection!
I know for a fact that it is a robot arm. I can even tell which robot it belonged to, just by looking at it. With this information, we can investigate whether it was there at the time or not.
But Mr. Wright, I thought you were more of the technology illiterate type. When did you become such an expert? I feel somehow abandoned. I thought we were brothers in technological literacy, Mr. Wright. We both can't change our ringtones on our cell phones, and we have accepted our fate. Me with my generic store out-of-box ringtone, and you with that Steel Samurai theme.
Not to worry, Your Honor. I still know next to nothing about machines, including his own cell phone. But I know this piece of evidence proves which robot the arm belongs to. Okay, where's that photo? Yeah, sorry if I seem a little distracted. It's just my legs are hurting. I went on a bike ride today. The robot in this picture is named Ponko. But take a look at Ponko's arm. It was Miss Sykes who bandaged it up like that.
She must have thought the machines heal in the same way as people do. What an adorable, naive mistake. She was an absolute dumbass back then. It reminds me of my own dumbass grandchild.
The robot arm at the crime scene had the same bandaging wrapped around it. In other words, this robot arm could belong to none other than Ponko. Yeah, wait for me to flub that up.
Order in the court! Order, I say! Prosecutor Edgeworth, what do you have to say to this?
I can see that the robot is about the same size as a child, but it cannot grab its knees and curl itself up into a ball. Even if it was the largest of the cases, the robot couldn't have possibly fit in there.
The case does come up to about mid-thigh on Prosecutor Blackwell.
Yeah, which means that basically it was around 3 feet 1 inch in height. Basically, how tall was Athena then? Basically, I don't think Athena would have been really just breaching 4 feet. I mean, I'm bad with height though. Then again, I don't know how tall Athena was back then. We have no indication.
I see your point. That robot is much taller than that.
They've got me there. So then, did Prosecutor Blackwell make Ponko into the case by compacting her? Couldn't he have crunched Ponko up and compact her a bit? You know, like when you stuck the air out of those storage bags with a vacuum cleaner? Interesting theory. Why don't we conduct an experiment then? Detective Fulbright, could you please bring us a storage bag and a vacuum cleaner? Let's try to compact Mr. Right here and see if we can't fit him in the rubbish bin. On second thought, let's just scrap the whole idea and start over, okay?
Very well then, but one man's trash is that same man's penalty.
Gah! Dismantling. Of course Ponko would fit. All Prosecutor Blackwell had to do was dismantle her. Once they get apart, the robot could easily fit inside the rolling case. It appears to be a robot assembly device. Disassemble anything at flash. Push the dismantle button. That sounds pretty neat. Can I push it, Mr. Nick?
It sounds rather violent, but Mr. Wright does have a point there.
Objection!
Except that there was a body on the table where robots are dismantled and reassembled. There would have been no room to take the robot apart.
Objection!
But what if it wasn't done on the table? What if the katana was used instead?
You mean the sword?
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Blackwell, I'd like your opinion as a woman of science. Isn't it true that the katana could have been used to take the robot apart?
I suppose so. Their joints aren't made of very tough material. A blade could slice through them.
Thank you for the expert opinion, Miss Blackwell. Thanks to you, we now know that the existence of the severed arm in this photo proves that Ponko was taken apart. In addition, since the rest of Ponko was not found at the scene, we can conclude that the true meaning of this photo is very different from the original interpretation.
You can't mean...
That's exactly what I mean. This photo does not capture the moment of the murder. It is instead a picture of the moment after the robot was sliced apart. The blood you see where the arm was cut off was transferred there by the bloody katana. Most likely, the rest of Ponko is scattered around Prosecutor Blackwell's feet.
Not hearing this.
Therefore, what was transported inside that case was not the defendant, but a robot. Miss Sykes never was at the scene of the Miss Sykes never was at the scene at the time of the murder. I am flubbing these lines so badly. No.
My head, my body, where am I? Order in the court! It's true that Ponko was found in pieces after the murder, and I'll admit I repaired her myself afterwards.
Yes, I'm finally making some progress. Yeah, basically Aura right after the murder, just pushing Menace right off the operating table. Like just, gotta just push that away. Just push the corpse of Menace right off the table. Menace is just face down on the ground while Ponko's being repaired. Hopefully, I've gotten at least one step closer to proving both Athena and Prosecutor Blackwell innocent.
Objection!
Well played, Mr. Wright. You've made your point abundantly clear. I can see that it wasn't the defendant inside the rolling case, but the robot. All right, what's going on here? It's never good when he plays things this straight.
Does the prosecution withdraw its claim that the defendant was carried from the scene?
No, Your Honor. My claim hasn't changed.
Objection!
But Ponko and Miss Sykes couldn't have both been in that case.
Objection!
The notion that the case was used to carry Miss Sykes was Miss Blackwell's theory. Her theory that she, once again, I stated, was sourced with trust me. I have been of a different opinion from the outset. Now I finally have the opportunity to voice my theory. Thanks to the defense. Edgeworth, he's been one step ahead of me this whole time.
In that case, how do you propose the defendant left the crime scene?
Simple. The footage only shows Prosecutor Blackwell from behind. What's more, he's holding his arm in front of his body, as if he were holding something or someone. He carried Athena out like a football. That's hardly evidence. I have proof. The surcoat Prosecutor Blackwell was wearing. Look how ugly it is. Do you think that a man wearing such an ugly, unfashionable piece of clothing would be a murderer? Frankly, the only crime Mr. Blackwell has committed, right, is crimes against fashion. You see, he lacks class. He goes in with that whole edgelord, dark samurai vibe, when he should really be wearing my kind of outfit. He should be wearing a cravat. He should be wearing a maroon suit. The victim's blood was found on the front of it, and the stain had a very distinctive shape.
A blood stain with a distinctive shape? Please continue, Prosecutor Edgeworth.
Several years ago, the defendant was known to constantly wear a certain item, of which there's only one in the world. A special pair of headphones made just for her. They were ugly and an abomination against life.
She always wore these big, heavy-looking headphones. She said her mother made them for her as part of her research.
Analysis shows the blood stain to be in the exact same shape as the headphones. In other words, this was no mere blood splatter. The blood went from the victim's body to the headphones and then was imprinted onto Prosecutor Blackwood's coat like a stamp. Now let's be honest here. Look at that coat. That blood only made it look better.
A most gruesome stamp indeed.
Blackwood carried Miss Sykes, who had been hit by the splatter, away from the crime scene. This proves that Athena Sykes was, without question, present at the crime scene. And that concludes the prosecution's argument. Ah!
Order! If the defendant was indeed at the scene, it deepens the suspicion against her.
Objection!
But we've also shown that the robot was there at the scene as well.
Objection!
I hope you're not making the ridiculous claim that a simple robot was the real murderer, right? Why don't you go and live in the real world with me, where 11-year-old girls are actively plotting murder schemes against their mothers? I don't really think so, no, but you can't say the possibility isn't there. Detective Fulbright was the robot questioned at the time? No, I don't see any record of it. I believe it was considered unrelated to the case. But as it turns out, the robot was actually integrally related. Your Honor, the defense would like to call Ponko to the stand.
A robot witness? Order the court! Prosecutor Edgeworth, what do you think about this?
Humph, Mr. Wright has called all manner of witnesses to the stand over the years. So why not a robot? Nothing surprises me anymore with him.
Very well, I will allow the witness. Bailiff, please summon the robot named Ponko.
Even though, basically, Edgeworth's acting like Phoenix was calling all these strange witnesses while he was prosecuting the cases. Basically, just the strangest one being Polly, basically. Edgeworth wasn't even prosecuting that case. He was the defendant. And I don't think Edgeworth was really focusing on Polly, more so on the fact that, oh crap, I'm about to go to jail because my adoptive father is taking me down as another notch in his 40-year win streak. Yeah, just Edgeworth the entire time Phoenix was cross-examining Polly, just, oh my gosh, I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail. And then only for Edgeworth's hopes to raise slightly when Manfred started whipping out just my granddaughter's dog is named Phoenix. Are you my granddaughter's fiance? She's only 7. Witness, please state your name and occupation.
My name is not Witness. My name is Ponko.
Yes, I realize that, but when you are at the witness stand, you are the witness.
No, I'm not. I'm Ponko. Say it with me. Be Ponko.
What? An utterly inflexible little robot. Yeah, I love how even when Edgeworth is chief prosecutor, highest rung on the prosecutorial food chain, second only to the PIC chairperson, basically. We don't know if Justine took the role. We don't know if someone else. Actually, I think Justine may have inherited the role and she just kept it on. Yeah, basically, besides Justine, Besides Justine, Edgeworth is the highest rung on the prosecutorial ladder. And basically, he's still having issues getting witnesses to say their name. First off, basically, as if it wasn't bad enough that Edgeworth could get a young bull, lost a bargain with Cody Hackins to get him to come to the witness and cooperate, basically. Edgeworth is now dealing with robots that are meant to help people. You're the last person who should be calling anybody inflexible.
Haha, you remind me of my grandchild who just learned his own name. Oh, how precious.
Alright, Ponko. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Questions? You have questions? Hooray! What are your questions?
I want to know if you were there at the scene of the murder of Meta Sykes. It was 7 years ago on the 7th of October around 2 p.m. in the robotics lab.
Certainly. Just one moment. Searching data. Search complete. Yes, I was there in the robotics lab.
It would seem this robot testimony is necessary to this case after all. This is great. I just knew Ponko must have seen something important.
A murder committed right before this poor little girl's eyes. It's inexcusable.
The judge seems ready to adopt Ponko as another grandchild. Hey, the judge may be oblivious, but he's not robophobic.
So, little Ponko, do you think you can give us your testimony today?
What I saw.
I went to the robotics lab at around 2 p.m. for my regular recharge. Just as I was about to charge up, Athena came in and hugged Mommy Metis. And then Mommy Metis fell down. After that, I was recharging, so I don't know anything. All I heard was maniacal laughing as Athena just repeatedly stabbed Mommy Metis with her knife. Mommy Metis was yelling, "No, no, don't, not the katana. Athena, have mercy. No, no." After I charged up, I was cleaning the room, and Mr. Simon came in, and then an error occurred. There is no data after that point.
Well, it sounds like the defendant was, without question, at the scene. However, it doesn't appear that the witness saw the actual moment of the murder.
I disagree. This testimony shows that the defendant did indeed commit the crime. What? At the end of the day, we mustn't forget that this witness is still a machine. Being a robot, its understanding and capacity to express itself are limited.
So what are you suggesting? Are you robophobic, Mr. Edgeworth?
No, I'm not robophobic.
You are robophobic! Get out of my courtroom, you robophobe! Guilty! Guilty! Mr. Edgeworth's guilty! Take him to jail!
No! You can't arrest me on these charges! The witness's statements need to be interpreted. For example, the terms hugged and then later fell down. Adults don't usually fall down after being hugged by a child. Unless, of course, they get a hug from Pearl. Isn't that right, Mr. Wright?
They don't, but...
Yes. What this witness's statements are telling us is that the defendant stabbed the victim with the murder weapon during this moment. What? Yeah, the fact that basically... also another thing. The fact that Edgeworth is proposing that Athena, an 11-year-old girl, could overpower her mother, basically. Yeah, Athena was holding a katana, but I highly doubt that basically an 11-year-old girl with a katana, who is probably untrained, Myola Simon was giving her lessons. Okay, Athena, here's how you murder someone. Slash the katana, wax the floors. Yeah, basically Athena's chores. They gave her a Mr. Miyagi moment where basically she got trained in the arts of Menace trying to teach Athena responsibility backfired. Athena learned how to fight with a katana and just absolutely took her down. Yeah, really, you'd think that, how would Athena even hide that? Basically, Athena's coming in, Mommy, I have a gift. Is Athena holding, basically, the katana behind her back. Basically, that katana was probably bigger than her. But what Miss Sykes talks, Dr. Sykes, did the two of them confess?
Yes, they did. They spoke to each other very loudly, but I don't know what they said. Athena's usually so quiet, so I was surprised.
Spoke very loudly. We can interpret this to mean they argued.
I see. Murder after a heated argument. And then the victim fell down.
So, yeah, basically, so if Edgeworth is proposing that this murder happened after an argument, manslaughter would be more likely than first degree, because basically, I highly doubt, basically, that just someone who's having first degree murder, basically, as assuming murder is the only option, I highly doubt that they're going to have a discussion with their victim beforehand.
I agree that it does sound like a reasonable interpretation. However, Ponko doesn't seem to remember anything that happened after that.
When I am recharging, I go into sleep mode. But I remember everything before that. I have a very good memory.
You may as well admit defeat now, right? I have a robot. I have a vending machine on my side. What do you have? I have technology and anime on my side. A cross-examination would be useless. Don't be ridiculous. A cross-examination is never useless. Until now, think about it. Robots don't lie. This robot is both an important witness and valuable evidence at the same time. Why do you think that... Heck, For that matter, that's why Mr. Von Karma was actually very open to technology. Yes, he saw today when all witnesses would be robots that would obey him and him alone. Nevertheless, I will have my cross-examination. I see you haven't changed. You never were one to worry about wasting time.
Very well. Even if it may be a waste of time, you may proceed, Mr. Wright.
I'll show you both just how fruitful any cross-examination can be. Okay, so anyways, what I'm going to do is this, basically. Actually, no. Yeah, so for the time being, I think that now would be a good time to end things off. I really appreciate that you stuck around to watch this episode. You're a great viewer, and I hope you come back for the next one. If you like this video, like, subscribe, comment, share, do whatever that you want, and with that, I'll see you next time. Bye.